Have you ever Googled your symptoms to find out what exactly it is you have? I bet so, because 89% of patients across the US Google their health symptoms before going to their doctor. No wonder then that Google and its parent company Alphabet are looking to get into the health sector game. After all, they know most of our ailments already anyways. But in fact, this is not just something we perceive with Google. The 5 big tech giants are actually all looking to make their dent in the healthcare sector. Amazon, for example, has entered the market of online pharmacies and telemedicine. Apple's smartwatch is incorporating increasingly more health features. Meta releases fitness-related programs for their Oculus VR goggles, and Microsoft has expanded on their healthcare cloud computing. So why focus on Google today? Because they are getting down to business like none of the others. Between 2019 and 2021 alone, the various venture capital arms of Alphabet have made around 100 deals in life sciences and healthcare. In total, the number is around 400. The top categories where Google is placing its healthcare bets are genomics with 18 deals, clinical research with 15 deals, and insurances and benefits with 12 deals. And Google is not just making a lot of deals, it is also making a lot of investments. Data provider CB Insights reports that in 2022 so far, Alphabet has spent $1.7 billion on futuristic health ideas. In comparison, the other tech behemoths spent only $100 million. This shows that while all of big tech has jumped on the healthcare wagon, there's one clear frontrunner, and that is Alphabet. So why are these companies so healthcare crazed? Not to say that they don't care about making healthcare more accessible or affordable, but the answer is money. Rich countries spend about 10% of their GDP on healthcare. The US already spends around 17% of its GDP on the health industry. This will only increase in the future as the average population gets older. Since 2000, the national median age has shifted and increased by 3.4 years. Many Western countries are experiencing a similar age shift. With people living longer, there are more years in which intensive healthcare is required. Nearly 1/3 of lifetime healthcare expenditures is incurred during middle age, and nearly half during senior years. So if you invest in healthcare, you see the pot of gold just growing. And this is exactly what attracted big tech. It is such a huge industry that very few sectors can really compare. But the health sector itself is so big, including pharma companies, pharmacies, insurances, hospital, nursing homes, etc., that it is a big chunk that these tech companies want to sink their teeth into, and none more so than Google. So let's look at what Google has done so far, on what their moonshots are this time around. One of their oldest health investments was Google Health, which started in 2006. It was an attempt to create a repository of health records and data in order to connect doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies directly. Streamlining this flow of information could make treatment more effective and provide your different doctors with a more holistic understanding of your health, being able to treat you better. But the project went through some turbulences, being discontinued in 2012 due to a lack of widespread adoption. In 2018, the program was taken up again, incorporating AI to improve search functions in electronic health records and health-related search results across their platforms. The plan was to cooperate with other players in the health sectors, but eventually the revamp of Google Health fell apart in 2021. This is not to say that Google's health investments have been bad. During the same time as Google Health was going through round 2 in 2019, one of Google's most known acquisitions occurred: Fitbit. It was bought up for $2.1 billion, and Google has big plans for it. More than just a step counter, a Fitbit wearable can track your sleep, your heart rate, and even the oxygen levels in your blood. Through these features, the wearable can, for example, monitor irregularities that could lead to a stroke or heart failure. This being FDA-approved software as medical device only increases its value for Google. There are also several other companies in its portfolio that have certainly been worth it, receiving multi-billion-dollar valuations. These include the cancer screening platform Grail, gene editing company Editas, and primary care provider One Medical. Also, a lot of investments Google is making can benefit from each other. For example, Google has invested in companies like 23andMe, Flatiron Health, and Freenome. These companies collect massive amounts of patient data. 23andMe is a personal genetics company which analyzes your DNA to provide you with insights into ancestry and inherited traits. Flatiron Health is gathering information about the experience of cancer patients and granting cancer care providers and life science companies with clinical intelligence. Freenome is an AI-based genomics biotechnology company. Using blood tests, it can help detect and treat cancer quickly and efficiently. Now imagine all this data aggregated and put together. There's so much that can be learned from it, and once combined, it can be used for early diagnosis, better treatment, and improved care. On the other hand, Google also invested in some of America's most valuable private health insurance upstarts, like Oscar Health and Clover Health. Now, imagine what they could do if they have information about your DNA and know what illnesses you may be prone to and which markers you have. This could mean that health insurance would be increasingly more personalized than it already is, depending on how much of a risk your insurance considers you to be. At this point, you may ask if it is a good idea that big tech is investing in healthcare. And quite frankly, I don't know. Having big tech invest in healthcare could bring about some really important changes, especially when it comes to digitalization. Healthcare is notoriously behind in this, and many processes could be so much easier if the health data were better connected. Also because this would provide important data for research and development of drugs and treatments. Technologies that are already in place, for example telemedicine, are a great way of consulting your doctor if you cannot or do not want to leave your house. It also makes consultations more efficient for your physician, and should the need arise, he or she could even immediately bring in another expert to consult on your issue. This is just one example in which technology is already helping our healthcare. But there are also issues with big tech investment in healthcare. For one, the question is if you want giant tech companies like Google to have access to your medical records. Whether companies can use patient data to develop and sell new products is currently still a gray area, but it may not be for long. The European Union is currently working on a European health data space, which will lay the ground rules of what companies are and are not allowed to do with their patients' health data. The goal is to support individuals to take control of their own health data while simultaneously offering a safe and secure exchange of data in order to provide better healthcare delivery, better research, innovation, and policymaking. Also, consumer preference are very different from medical needs. As an example, let's take Fitbit or any wearables company. They advertise how much easier it will be to live a healthy lifestyle with their wearables. But the question is, does it really? Multiple studies found that there was little indication that wearable devices provide a benefit for health outcomes. Another problem is the question of medical liability. After all, if you would rely on your Apple Watch to tell you about heart irregularities, you would also want Apple to be liable if it doesn't, provided you can still want anything at that point. Google has already invested a lot into healthcare, and will most likely continue to do so. The health sector is huge, and therefore it is no surprise that it would attract the eye of big tech companies. Also, some of their existing algorithms and AI may actually work very well for medical purposes, especially when it comes to medical search results, as Google had intended with Google Health. This example, however, has also shown that breaking into the health sector is by no means easy. For one, there's a lot of red tape and regulatory hoops to jump through. This may be very frustrating for tech companies that are used to act in a less regulated market, where inventions can progress at a quicker pace. It will definitely remain interesting to see who Google invests in and if it continues on its path of being the largest big tech investor in healthcare. Speaking of monopolies, why not check out our video on how to break a monopoly or on controversial investment theories? I hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, please like and subscribe to Rebel Economics. See you next time.